Hello and what's up everybody, welcome back to the MOC Spotlight, where we take apart what you build. This is your host, Ven, and on today's episode we'll be going over Makuta, Serpent of Okoto, created and posted to our message boards by Tora. And of course, before we get started, let me quickly go over my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the MOC, the build of the MOC itself, and the concept and ideas behind the MOC's creation. Each quality will mount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And please remember that this is all based on my opinion. Whew, let's get this started. Whoa, look at that, dude. That's pretty cool. It's like this big, colorful snake topped off with a dragon head, like icing on cake. I did not mean to rhyme, that was just a fortunate mistake. Okay, that time was intentional. But man, yeah, I just want to take this moment to look at that head real quick, because this is a most impressive dragon head, or I guess really a serpent head. Like, this is easily my most favorite part about the MOC. It's just so intricately detailed. So flush, and man, it just looks really menacing too. Like, I'm looking at this head and it feels like it's demanding both fear and respect from me, because that's all I have here, just nothing but fear and respect. Now sure, I'm giving a lot of attention to this head, but I think the rest of the MOC deserves almost, if not just as much attention as well. I mean, just look at this whole thing. There's detailing everywhere, the colors are bright, vibrant, and gorgeous. The standard red and blue colors work surprisingly well together. I mean, usually I find that these colors clash and just never look all too great together, especially when they're in pin and axle form. But here, I find that it's forgivable because it just works. And what also worked out so surprisingly well was just the shaping of the body. It's all nice and serpentine, and you know, we'll look more into that in just a second. But overall, this MOC's looking pretty great. The only gripe I may have to bring up is that the body seems a bit too short in terms of length. And I don't know, to me it seems a bit out of proportion with the head, because the head is so huge. So it seems to me that it'd be more appropriate to give this guy a longer body, but hey, that's all I got really. And you know, I have to admit, I am a little bit biased here, just a little bit, because I have a pre-established love for dragons and serpent-like creatures in terms of the design, lore, all that jazz. So just seeing this design immediately took the cake from me. Like, I really like it. But I'll try my best not to let that sort of bias influence the scoring. Now, in regards to the MOC's build, what we have is a very complex build. Like, if you were to plan on reverse engineering this MOC, good luck, dude, because we have a buttload going on here. But it's really impressive how, despite all the busyness, the MOC still looks very well constructed, and really everything looks to fit together quite nicely. Like, it's just crazy to me that the dude managed to make Technic parts look so smooth and curvy. And that goes into what I would say is a great demonstration of a very creative usage of parts for both construction and aesthetical features. Because at the core, we have a very solid build that is surprisingly flexible. That's one thing that we should not overlook, is just how flexible and posable this MOC actually is. And then we have this clever placement of some certain portions of the MOC, such as the white feather decorations and the red scales, quote-unquote, throughout the body. And then obviously the head on its own, where there's a wide variety of armor pieces and blades, sword pieces making up the face and the teeth and all the other little details in there. The eyes are old bionicle brain pieces. And I actually did not notice this immediately, but this thing also has like these gums in its mouth, or whatever you'd call this, on the sides. That's a very interesting detail to throw in there. I wonder what piece that is, you know? Is that real Lego? Is that there for aesthetical purposes? Is that there for the construction? I don't know. I really don't know. But on a separate note, I do think it's worth pointing out that this MOC definitely looks built for display, not so much for playing. I mean, first of all, the MOC doesn't seem capable of standing upward or supporting its own weight. It looks to be reliant on this black scaffolding you can see underneath it. And you know, this kind of leads me to believe that not only is this required to keep the MOC standing up at all, but it also probably supports the MOC structure and keeps it from falling apart. And then obviously it doesn't seem to have any sort of functions or play features, and you know, that's cool. It's not like it really needs it. Again, just thought it'd be worth pointing out, because I'm pretty sure that a play factor is not really what the builder had in mind for this MOC. No. Conceptually, this MOC was intended to be entered in LEGO's Makuta challenge, which, as the title would suggest, challenged LEGO builders across the world to submit their own creative interpretation of the Makuta character from Bionicle's lore. And that's basically what the builder was going for. Now, keep in mind, let me just clarify this a little bit. LEGO did not ask the builders to recreate the official version of the final form for Makuta. They simply just challenge the builders to make up their own final form. And here, in Tora's case, he chose to represent the Makuta as a large serpent-like entity. And, you know, obviously, it's a very different look for Makuta than what we're used to, what we would traditionally get from LEGO. But then again, this is supposed to be a very different Makuta, a character who constructed masks for a living until being transformed by the Mask of Ultimate Power. And I will admit, upon looking at this at first glance, I would not have guessed that this was supposed to be Makuta. When I think of Makuta, I picture a large, brutish, dark entity with a mask to represent his face at the very least. And here, we have a large, colorful serpentine creature that looks to be its own force of nature rather than the embodiment of an evil, sentient being. But hey, you know, I could dig it. I can really dig it. The dude basically went for an evil Shenron, and I like that idea. I mean, I can see it. I can see some evil there. I mean, just look at that face again. I mean, that thing looks mean. So some of you might probably be thinking, well, I get it, he wants to do something different to represent Makuta, but why this? Why a serpent thing? And well, actually, the builder has stated that his inspirations were Jormungand, a large sea serpent from Norse mythology, and Quetzalcoatl, an old Mesoamerican deity whose name apparently means feathered serpent. So I see somebody's got a bit of an obsession with mythology here. And you know, keeping all that in mind, it not only explains the serpentine design and whatnot, but it also explains the color scheme. And, you know, that's pretty neat, a little fun fact there. However, I will say that the colors don't really fit Makuta's character to me. I mean, I guess the gold does, since we have seen him don gold before. But again, we're talking about an evil character who's become associated with shadows and darkness and whatnot. So perhaps the color scheme should be less festive and pretty, and rather more gloomy and dark and evil looking. Like, throw some dark red in there, maybe, or purple. You know, something more Makuta-ish. Something that actually fits his character. Because I really do like the serpent idea. I don't think Makuta necessarily needs to be some sort of humanoid figure like he's always been. So I definitely stick with this, but, you know, give him something that does kind of give off the impression a bit more. I mean, that's just my personal suggestion, but, you know, you don't have to listen to me. Nobody does. Like, you can just frickin', like, stop watching this video right now. Bash me all you want in the comments below. I mean, you guys already do that anyway. As a matter of fact, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna end this video right now. Screw it. Let's go. Let's start looking at the scores. So in terms of appearance, this MOC receives a 5 out of 5. Now sure, I did say that the body seemed a little too short in length, but I can't get over just how great it looks overall. It's so big and heavily detailed and pretty looking. Like, oh man, goals, you know? Freaking goals. But in terms of the build, I give this MOC a 4.5 out of 5. It really is a great build and definitely a very creative usage of parts, but I think what does bring it down for me is just the fact that it needs all this scaffolding down here to support the MOC. You know, I think it would have been neat if the builder found a way to get the MOC to support itself, so it could stand, quote-unquote, and pose on its own. But, you know, it doesn't bring it down too much for me because, again, this is a really great-looking MOC, and that mostly goes towards how the builder used his parts. So great job in this regard, man. And finally, in terms of the concept, this MOC receives a 4 out of 5. It's big and menacing as Makuta should be, but it doesn't really remind me of Makuta all too much aside from those two features. There isn't anything that really screams Makuta to me. It just looks like a nice big old dragon thing. But I do feel like if it had his colors, maybe his mask was thrown in somewhere, something iconic, then that'd be great. But for now, I guess, yeah, it'll work. And now we can go ahead and add up the score, adding up to a final score of 13.5 out of 15. You did a great job, Tora. Congrats for making it onto the MOC Spotlight. I wish you luck in the contest, and I do hope to see more out of you. And the same goes for those of you watching this video. If you haven't already, please consider posting your own LEGO creations to the message boards at board.ttvchannel.com. Check out the LEGO creations category, and that is where you're allowed to post your own stuff for a very high possibility of becoming featured on the MOC Spotlight in the future. That is the only way you will make it onto the MOC Spotlight. I do not take requests, and you can ask me all you want, but I'm probably not gonna listen to you, bro. Just post your stuff. You gotta show me how creative and how interesting you can get with your stuff. So do it. And until then, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.